Let's get it.
This isn't even an intro. We're just because I'm chopping this up.
Okay.
Actually, we're gonna put the whole thing on YouTube.
So it started already.
It's already going.
Beautiful.
There's
What's
no
up,
intro.
folks?
There's no name.
What's up? How we doing?
I'm Alex Mendez.
I'm Josh Moore.
And we're gonna talk shit, so we can chop it up and look like rational people. And maybe you might want to vote for me someday.
Guy knows what he's talking about, folks. Guy knows what he's talking about.
So what do you want to talk about?
Man, I know like crazy. I don't see me personally when I do a podcast, unless like I'm doing with a specific person who like, for you, for instance, the first time we did it, I had an array of questions lined out. You know, it was more of like an interview type of thing. But then once I got more comfortable, I was like, all right, I know this guy a little bit now. I just kind of go with the conversation, you know?
Exactly. I have same thing after our little conversation.
Yeah.
I just I have to put this up. It's the first time Josh invited me onto his podcast, and I sounded really smart. But now I sound like a retard.
No, man.
All right. Well, how about this? You said you wanted to ask me a question. I'm not gonna.
Okay. Yes.
Do you want to go at that? Right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
I'll ignore it, but ask away.
All right. So, obviously, people watching this understand your political aspirations and your goals and your thought processes. I haven't always had this idea, but recently, like, I had this idea of like, damn, like this guy ran for state senate. I understand that. That's very big stride. I respect it. Why not run for mayor, man?
Because mayor is an executive position.
Okay.
Mayor, you have to a couple of reasons. Mayor is, like I said, an executive position, so it really is. You need a lot more knowledge and know-how of making go in. And this is going to sound weird. As a state senator, it's kind of easier to talk shit because you have two tools. You have your voice and your time. All politicians have voice and time. And what you do is, how do you spend your time and what do you use your voice for? As an executive, you're kind of a leader, but you also are the one who has to get shit done.
Gotcha.
So it has to
simultaneously.
There's a zero margin of fuckery. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because you get a mandate from a legislature, or in our case in Quincy, it's a city council.
Yes.
So they do all the debating and the nebulous. We should do 10 of them, and then the other side says we should do 5 of them, and then it goes into a back room, and then it's either 10, 5, or 7.5.
Yeah.
Whatever they're talking about. When you're an executive, it's, this is my budget, this is where it goes here, make the fucking cuts, and it's much more serious. And that's one reason. And I don't have my aspirations were beyond city.
Okay.
I like to look at things. I like our city. Our city's awesome. But then the other part is, I love our city, neighborhoods, country, just world, everything.
Yes.
And it's what level can you have an important impact on? And like, what is the best level to address it? If I was running in a city position, you end up hitting a threshold of like a ceiling of what you can do. You're just like, well, we want to do this. Great ideas.
Yeah.
But then you're like, well, it has to go through the state. It has to do this. It has to do that.
State government, federal sometimes.
So then at the state thing, the things that I'm interested in, like free state college, free state vocational training. What are other ones? I have a list up there. High-speed rails, renewable energy, nuclear energy. That's shit that can get addressed in a state like Massachusetts, where we have 7 million people, and we can do things at scale, but we're still a small enough state where it's manageable. So those are all good things, whereas California, they're a giant state with a giant population.
Yes.
Rhode Island is a really small state that can't do much. Like Providence is a nice town and all that, and they have industry there, but it's more
their state GDP opposed.
Exactly, and they're a smaller population, so they can do things at scale, but they might not have the money because they don't have the big enough economic center. And same thing like Wyoming, they're not
beautiful
they,
state.
Great state,
Yeah.
they're not doing anything.
Definitely.
Like, there's no bullet train in Wyoming except to just get through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
so here in Massachusetts, it's right at the right level of. Massachusetts is the right level of getting good ideas in our state and running for a legislative position where you're with your body. For example, the state senate is 40 people. So you have to talk bullshit to get it through 40 people, which then has to get through 160 other representatives. So that's more of my mentality of just me personally of how I operate.
Gotcha.
Of just I'm flaky, but I'm precise.
Okay.
Like if I put my mind to it, I'm not fucking around. But my default is fuck around.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I like talking shit, big ideas, but then I hope that I can always back them up because I've put
With
in the
action,
time
yes.
Because, like I said, I like fuckery, but then I also spent almost 10 years of getting 4 degrees of just reading textbooks of theories and all this and hearing personal accounts, watching this documentary, just watching that documentary, learning as much as you can.
Yeah.
So when I talk shit, I feel more confident talking shit than anyone else in the state.
Yes, definitely.
I'm a bullshit master. So that has an applicable. That has an application in state government, particularly in an area like Quincy, where we're right at the same thing like Massachusetts is for the state of that they're right at a great place to do things at scale. If you look at our state, Quincy is a great place to do things for our state. So like even if it's talking about things of getting better T transportation, better suburban transportation, whether it's bikes, electric vehicles, trolley cars, things like that, Quincy is a great place to try that out. Especially if you go out a little bit further to other suburbs. How do we deal with that across the state? Because the same problems we have in the South Shore are pretty much the same ones they have up in the North Shore near Revere, Medford, and things like that. So executives, they don't have the ability to fuck around.
Yeah.
Because when shit goes down, it's on them.
And they're the first one to be blamed.
Here, I get to talk about shit like bullet train. I don't know. 2 of them, 3 of them, 1 of them. And we can make cases for whatever, and then you just debate it on merits. And the other thing is, in terms of personality, I have a 0 tolerance for bullshit, unless you're bullshitting. And then 0 tolerance for bullshit. But I also prefer to ask questions and speak what I think is true. Whereas I'm try to be polite, but I'm more of a irascible asshole.
Okay.
I'll just say it blatantly.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
don't
just,
sugarcoat nonsense.
Don't get political talk out. Like, just speak normal as if you would. If someone talks to me, I can talk about foreign policy the same way I can talk about fucking jacking off.
Yeah,
It's all life. So just talk comfortably about it. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's a good question. Any questions on that?
I guess kind of basing off like you said, you love the city. I'm not gonna like say like, oh, okay, there's too many things wrong with the city because from my perspective, we seem to be managing pretty well. I have a few nitpicks here and there. I don't like the modernization aspect in a big sense, and I know it's not like I'm like an old person here, but
no, I get it.
The flock of like all these new, not new people coming in because I love diversity. I love new experiences and new people. I'm a huge proponent of things like that, but like the endless building of hotels and condos, like
apartments.
dude, what are we doing here? God, sorry.
No, you don't.
Just and the economic factor of COVID. I'm not blaming the city or even the state for the lockdown of COVID or anything like that, but all the small businesses that we've seen go under. I mean, a big one, Grumpy Whites. Just for off the top of my head, you know what I mean? Just things like that. These are businesses that not only I know from my lifetime, but the generation previous to me knows from theirs, and it's like, could there have been a way in the future maybe to prepare for something like that, to put together a fund for these businesses? I'm just spitballing, like
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Some of it is the world changes. We just got to deal with it.
I understand that. Trust me.
The general trend for the world, I think we went over this last time, is that most of the world is going towards cities. That over 70% or 60% of world populations is going to be in less than 50 cities,
Yeah.
which is going to be crazy. So Massachusetts and Boston, that's our city. Like, they're not going to New Hampshire. They're not going to not New Hampshire, not Vermont, not Maine, not northern New York. All those places are going into Boston, Cambridge, where the money is. So naturally, the natural expansion through Quincy is how it goes. But the management of it is always interesting because there are definitely deals going on. Someone's getting rich. Someone's skimming off the top in a very lucrative way.
That's
very
my
legal.
idea with my conspiracy oriented thought processes. Yeah.
So, but I think I'm pretty sure that's happened since the beginning of time. You know what I mean? Once someone figured out how to get it together, they've been doing it.
Once someone made the wheels, someone told that person to make 2 wheels and say you need them both instead of the one. Yeah.
But then that's exactly why the state level for stuff is, for example, I'm going to say drug addiction and homelessness because they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's homeless, they probably are on too many drugs or they're off their drugs or that's the statistic. So Quincy having an influx of homeless people isn't Quincy's fault. It's just what happens when populations like cities grow. So it's more of what can we do to steer global economic trends and national economic trends to reduce the number of homeless people. And that's, you asked why not executive of a city. It was because at the state level is where we can actually get the funding for mental health, the drug assistance programs, and actually substantially and get businesses here to create jobs, hope, free college, free vocational training to give people purpose, paid family leave so that we have strong families. We're going to have parents who are employed that they can spend time. We fix traffic, which means that they can spend more time with their kids. All this stuff creates stronger families, stronger ties. We get people healthy and get rid of our pill for every ill culture. So we're not making it. So we're not putting 13-year-old kids on drugs that on Adderall
Seriously,
and shit. Like, so these are all to make it a habit of them becoming accustomed to taking pills, and it can turn bad. So at the state level, that's some of the best we could do, and it would be almost a generation, but that means we have to get it going now. Like, to get everything fully operable in the next 10 years so that we're in an awesome place, we should have started back in 2016. So we're already playing catch up, and that's why homelessness, drug overdoses, everything's going through the roof because we're sitting watching the world instead of participating in it. And I think Massachusetts is freaking the best place to be a showcase of awesome stuff. Yeah,
my fear is with the whole homeless epidemic and just the spiraling drug, the opioid epidemic alone is, 120,000 deaths this year already.
It went up 30,000. You ready for the fun statistics?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna mix up the math because I forget if I used the 800,000 COVID deaths versus the 500,000 in 1 year, particularly. Drug overdoses nationally were at 70,000 accidental fatal drug overdoses in the United States, April, before all the lockdowns.
Okay.
70,000. Over the year from April 2020 to April 2021, drug overdoses rose to over 100,000.
Yeah.
And it correlates with the lockdowns, which some could suggest means that it was caused by the lockdowns.
Yes.
Of course, there's also fentanyl, but it's also more people using drugs, which makes them susceptible to fentanyl. So the drug abuse went up. It just happened to be more fatal because of whatever. That can explain that.
Well, I know that, I don't mean to cut you off. A lot of the deaths, I think it's like a big fraction. I'm not going to throw a statistic that I don't know out there, but it's a big fraction from what I remember that were directly from fentanyl, which is from the Chinese government in cooperation with the Mexican cartels. It's crazy that no one wants to really just say that. Like, what if people are beating around the bush here? We need to stop. No, we got to stop the people supplying the drug. I don't get it. Why is it crazy?
I don't know the background on that, but it sounds pretty. Sounds pretty accurate. The Chinese government likes to make shady shit,
Yeah.
and the Mexican cartels like to bring shady
Yes.
shit into it. But it's not their fault for doing it. It's our fault for having the demand. The United States drug demand is the problem. So if we want to get fentanyl out, we don't want to reduce the power of cartels. We have to, one, legalize drugs because that makes sure that we're getting safe sources so people aren't dying accidentally, expressing their freedom however they want. But then the second part is, what was it? What were we just talking about? Legalize drugs and, reduce the demand.
Yes.
So legalize them so that people get them from safe sources. They can use them safely without criminal interventions. And instead of criminal interventions, we can have mental health and addictive substance interventions to harm reduction strategies. But then we also have to reduce the demand and make people want to have lives sober away from drugs. And that's by giving them hope, money, opportunity, and stability. Things that our culture was missing.
And exercise.
And exercise. And once our government shut down, all of those things went through the roof. People lost their jobs. Alcoholism went up. Just people started abusing drugs. Okay, so during COVID, drug overdoses went up by 30,000 people. And the same time, I think it was 500,000 people died of COVID with the comorbidities. The number of people who died without comorbidities was 6%.
Yeah, according to the CDC.
So 6% of 500,000 is going to be 30,000. More people were killed by drugs this year. I mean, an extra. The lockdown to stop 30,000 COVID deaths, direct COVID deaths, we killed 30,000 people who were addicted to drugs or use drugs because they're not even addicted. You can die. That number includes people who are lonely, enjoying their Biden check and spent it on cocaine and were having a fun time doing what they're told, staying at home. Boredom and fun led them to do drugs, and they died like those comedians.
Yes.
So we're not looking at big problems where the shutdown was a waste and harmful.
That also that doesn't include all the tens of thousands of suicides that took place too, which is equally as tragic to the overdose aspect because it's like these people. I mean, you know, no one needs to know the importance of what suicide really is. Like everyone knows what suicide means, but like man, like when that many people are massively doing it over that short period of time, like in such an influx, I mean, God, man, someone's got to answer to that.
I looked at divorces.
I didn't even think about that.
Divorces, that's running. Divorces technically didn't go up, but the inquiries for divorces went up. That was it. And there are 2 spikes in divorces and statistics. It's in the fall, right after the kids after the summer, divorce inquiries and number of divorce filed go up right after the summer. So September. So after the kids had all their summer problems. Yeah. And then freaking whatever, divorces go up. And then the next spike is the next spike occurs right after the holidays. So as soon as this new year happens, there's going to be
a nice number of them.
But then 9 months later is the biggest birth influx because lots of people are getting pregnant on New Year's.
Damn.
There you go, statistics.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I love statistics, except for when Bill Gates talks about them. I don't like because that dude. You ever seen that picture of him reading the book and it says how to lie with statistics? That scheming guy. I'm not gonna swear because I don't want to get your audience turned off. But that guy, man, that freaking guy, man. It's a different story.
Yeah, there are all sorts of. Once you start looking into them. I think everyone's shady, so it's just the amount of shady.
Listen, anyone who associates themselves with a convicted pedophile after he's a convicted pedophile, I automatically assume you're up to negative things, especially when you're trying to tell me how to live my life with health. I'm not going to buy into that person. I don't know. Call me crazy, you know? God, shut up. Epstein didn't kill himself.
It's
Whatever.
a very short argument, but it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, my family's always like, hey, why do you always think about this thought process? I'm like, listen, can I just tell you one fact of some of everything I believe? The people running our government and media and movies and celebrities were associating with a man who was a convicted child pedophile after he was convicted.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you think like what's going on here? You know,
it's a not a very rational decision.
It's insane. Not only that man owned an island. He owned a Manhattan penthouse that he got for free as a gift from Wex Lesnar. I mean, this guy was just getting free gifts from everybody. I mean, Gates flew with him 27 times on record, 16 of those times with no Secret Service. I haven't driven in a car with my mom 27 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, it's
a little while. It's not even a conspiracy.
It's
pretty.
It's out there.
If you read the fact intro,
yeah,
you're like,
that's like the intro to conspiracy theories 101 that turns out to like it be true. You know what I mean? That's like all the the Alex Joneses and the all those types of guys. They're like, oh, there's a pedophile ring, and oh, you're crazy. No, there is. And
this one is. It's.
Listen, I don't want to toot my own horn because this is nothing to toot your own horn about. I was in 11th grade, 10th grade, and I was talking to my friends about it. I was like, listen, there's a global and this is like I have friends who are listening. Like when this came out, they're like, dude, like you told me about this guy like 4 years ago. I'm like, I'm not. This has been happening. I was like, dude, like there's a legit island and like these politicians and celebrities are gathering with this guy Epstein, and I didn't know anything about him. I just heard the name. And I looked into it. I was like, yo, this is sketchy.
Yeah.
Because he was getting all this free stuff, and I'm like, where's he getting this free stuff? Why is he with scientists? Why, like, what is this guy? He's a money manager who knows nothing about money, I guess.
It's a weird.
And then this all happens, man. And it's insane. The biggest story I think in modern history was just swept under the rug, more or less.
No, I imagine that there are more of them. It's been going on forever.
Yeah,
I'm sure that this has been happening since day one of humanity.
Yeah. It's sickening.
Really weird. It's not right. I'm trying to think. Yeah, just surrounded by such awkward circumstances. There's so much to be like. It's a little.
Yeah.
It's not even conspiratorial. You're just like, someone explain that to me.
Yeah, you want to hear another one that's not conspiratorial that sounds like a conspiracy? Bohemian Grove. You ever heard of that?
No.
Get ready for this one, man. This is so primarily the Epstein thing was the left. There was a good amount of Republicans and conservatives on that flight log and associating, but for the majority of people, it was people who were associated with the left side of the spectrum. This one's the right side of the spectrum. This is the Reagans and all those. Okay. Yeah. So in California, there's a compound in the middle of the woods, and it's a bought piece of land, and it was what was it bought by? I want to say it was bought by Edison, I think, or something like that. Right. Don't quote me who it was bought by. It was bought by someone a few years back, and basically it's like a compound in the woods where celebrities and politicians go and meet. And, it doesn't seem anything weird, but it's like a secret society, more or less. And so Alex Jones, speaking of him, he broke into it in 2000, and he recorded the whole thing. They have a 30-foot owl statue where they did a sacrifice with a mock baby in front of the owl, all wearing robes and shit, doing rituals, chanting, and doing scripture of like Macbeth and Hamlet type of sound and stuff. Like,
that's a little weird.
Yeah. And there's a giant effigy in a fire, and after they sacrifice it, they burn the baby effigy in the fire, and there's a whole thing.
I mean, the world has been doing really weird things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
It's weird.
Okay, that's weird, but also I would have to show it, and it has nothing to do with race. Or I guess Jewish isn't a race. Let's claim it is, but
yeah. Many people will try to make that statement.
It's an ethnicity, but what the heck is it? Oh, it showed them Hasidic Jews. I think that would be Hasidic Jews or Orthodox Jews. I think it's Orthodox.
I'm not sure
the
the
ones
difference.
With the really big hats.
Okay, yeah. With the ponytails.
They all got locked into they got locked into like 1890 attire for some reason, and they've just
flexing on us. Yeah.
But it's them in a giant stadium, just going ham. And what's crazy is that it's all guys. I think, and they were all wearing the same thing. It has nothing to do with religion. It's just crazy that it was 2 to 3,000 or maybe like 1,000 people or whatever plus, but they were just going ham, bouncing up and down, like chanting something. I was like, the world's crazy.
I gotta see that video.
No, the world's crazy. Even churches, they do Eucharist.
Yeah.
And that's pretty. It's pretty. It's only normal insofar as that human beings have always normally done weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think now it's being more exposed because of the fact of just technology and people's curiosity.
Well, they're seeing it happen, and then you just question if because you just see that it's antiquated traditions that just keep going on and on and on. For example, like the Pope, when you think of his security guards, have you ever seen them?
No.
They're called the Swiss Guards, and they were a mercenary group during the Renaissance that was hired to protect the Pope. And they just still wear the Renaissance outfits. The Pope still wears the full regalia of all the jewels.
Yeah,
and all that stuff,
yeah.
but then his Swiss guards are wearing like fluffy Renaissance things with fluffy helmets.
It's like, all for show,
yeah,
man.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the same thing. But what's crazy about those guys too is they're all special forces from around the world.
Oh yeah, they'd all kill you with a pinky. They can look silly all they want.
Holding like the staffs.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they all have machine guns strapped right here, and they could take out every single person.
They're all just John Wicks, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, because like some people have security guards like celebrities, and they have security guards just because one, the celebrity's gonna get rowdy, and people get weird with fame and all.
Yeah.
If you're bodyguarding the Pope, it's because people really want to kill him. Like, ever since day one, they've been trying to kill that dude.
That's another crazy aspect about religion, man. How much people hate other people's ideologies that goes against theirs.
Yeah, religion is a wild one. It's they're the big three: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. What was it? Abrahamic.
Abrahamic sounds about right.
It's all Abraham. But after that, Judaism had Abraham, and then Christianity came along, and then Islam came along. All from a square mile area of a very small dot on a little blue planet in a giant universe, and everyone decides that that's true. And they can have that perspective because we're in the United States.
Damn
People
right.
are allowed. You can have your Epstein theories.
Yeah.
They can have their global creation theories, and I just have to sit here and enjoy it, ride along, see what works and what doesn't. Because religion has a lot of bullshit, but at the same time, it has value. As long as you know that it's written by humans who are full of shit, then the Bible can make more sense.
Yeah.
Because you can see the bad in it, of how it's people manipulating people to gain power, not necessarily in the Bible, but in the interpretation of the Bible. But then you also have really important stories, if that makes, because it was a manual to survive through history, because it was passed down from whatever until all the good ideas got into a book, the Bible. That's the name of it. So if you look at all of the old stuff, like people talk shit about Leviticus, but you have to think for the 5,000 years before they started like kill the homosexual, like all that stuff. And then people are like, well, they say kill the homosexuals, but you can't have animals have sex with each other, and you can't use two different
cloths.
Yeah,
can't eat shellfish.
But then you have to put your mind on the back. Go back in time when they didn't know how reproduction worked. They didn't know anything. So in their mind, two animals having sex, they knew enough to know males and females. So, which is a giant step in human understanding of biology. Knowing males and females. They didn't know about it, but they knew of it. And that's why they said don't have two males have sex.
Wow, I never actually thought about that.
Because they don't reproduce. So they're just like, there's no social value in two people having sex because there's no baby from that. And then you have to think of what's to us now common sense of don't have this animal mate with that animal, because we're like, that just sounds weird. Why would you do that? But back in the early days of agriculture, when they were herding animals, they got the science of If that cow sleeps with that cow, I get another cow.
Yes.
Or if that bull sleeps with that cow, I get another cow. They've got the math insofar as that. But then it goes so crazy because how many people started mating different animals along the kind of the spectrum of being like, this cow kind of looks like that cow. We're gonna make them fuck.
Yeah.
And then it probably got like crazy because some of it. Have you ever heard a mule?
Like the
donkey?
donkey thing? Yeah.
A mule is actually half donkey and half horse.
Okay.
And I forget the science of it. Donkeys are really good at. Mules are really good at drag carrying stuff. I think. There are aspects of donkeys that are really good, and then there are aspects of horses that are really good. So I guess you can get a mule, but only I forget. Don't know the mix. If you can look it up, but it's only a male horse can mate with the female donkey, or a female donkey can mate with the male, or like
for it to come out to the desired outcome.
Because it only works in one way; it doesn't work the other way. That's how you get mules. But that's how we got all of the breeds of our modern cows. That's how we have all the breeds of our all modern animals is by a couple dudes saying we should have that animal, fuck that animal. And I'm sure in history it got to a certain threshold of just like stop, guys, stop having horses fuck cows. We did it. But it doesn't work.
They had a fucking pig and a dolphin in a bath together. They're like, all right, let's see what happens here.
Like, but it worked with the really big dog and the little dog, right? Yeah. You're like, yeah, but don't stop.
Oh, they went nuts with the dogs. Look how many types of dogs there are. Exactly. They were having all the dogs fuck. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then you have what's crazy is people aren't going to be happy with this. Everyone enjoys their nice, beautiful breed of dogs.
Yeah.
But to get those breeds of dogs, it means you have to have a litter, and not everyone makes it.
Yeah.
Lots of puppy drownings.
Drownings? Like purpose ones or like inside the womb?
Because imagine all the dogs that they had to
back in the day.
Put down to get
yeah.
You can't have 10 things, and if one dog is really bad or just unhealthy.
Yeah.
Oh. The breeding of dogs is crazy, but that's how we have every animal was bred. Like that's the way we have certain chickens, whatever. Then we get bioengineering. That's where we are now. That's it.
Lab grown, creating cells. Replicating cells. It's a weird area, man.
Yep. Humans are going to become more like. Humans are going to become more technologically embedded, and our technologies are going to become more human.
That's a scary thought. Yeah.
They're going to be weird crossovers because humans are going to start. We have facial recognition already. Like it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that means computers can recognize people, which is crazy. And then that computer can know what you've done so that know what your interests are just by the same way the surveillance capitalism works. If they know your Google searches, they'll send you ads later for it. A being can recognize your face and then start talking to you using artificial intelligence of telling you things that you like. That we're there right now.
There's a crude version of that. There's an app called Replica that I found that I heard about, and it's like, from my understanding, it's an AI that just learns as you go. Like I think I saw a YouTube ad, or I saw something of it briefly, and I was like, "This is fucking trippy." But like, it learns as you go. Like it evolves with you. Like it's an ever learning AI, and humans are contributing to that. Everyone who uses it just by talking. It's
self-learning AI.
And it's only a matter of time before some dude's like, I gotta stick my dick in this AI, like that Joaquin Phoenix movie. You know what I'm talking about?
It's
fuck.
It's very weird. When your porn recommendation starts showing up, like, how do you know?
The world like that, when you start getting into like silicone becoming organic, like you think Ex Machina, things like that, like those types of movies. I think it's called Her with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with a robot. Yeah. I mean, man, like that's gonna happen. Like there's men out there, and I'm not discriminating against these men, but there's men out there who have sex dolls. And they may have relationships with those sex dolls, like physical and emotional. It's so like. You know, if there's something that can physically talk back to you,
It's gonna be a weird world.
damn, bro, yeah. Especially if you can customize what they look like, or even women too. I'm just thinking men, just because that's just men are notoriously more horny. But even women, bro, this is some lonely women who are like, oh, I want an AI man. He's not gonna break my heart, you know, shit like that.
Well, I think we're far away from that because the machines don't move smoothly yet. They're getting there.
The public ones don't,
Yeah, right.
but they're like, I don't
the
know.
Boston Dynamic one.
That's yeah, dude. Like the dogs and
but
shit.
Then they'd also, I guess they'd be heavy. Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I was gonna say Whitney Cummings had.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess.
She made herself.
But think about how many of those they'd have. Well, now I'm thinking about how many cars there are on the road,
And how quickly
there's
those many cars got there. Yeah.
Now we're thinking it's Return of the Droids.
Yeah.
Is that the Star Wars?
Yeah.
One? All of them?
Yeah. God.
Well,
It's my thing is I've always thought, listen, if let's use CRISPR, for instance. If the world introduces CRISPR, my thought process is okay, that the world's had CRISPR for at least 20 years. They've perfected, and I can't prove, this is just how I've always kind of thought about things. Whoever made it or whoever got a hold of it has probably been working with this for a while. They've probably not mastered it, but they can probably do, like we've cloned sheep, you know, I used to work for a guy, and my boss, he had a kid, and his kid, he used CRISPR on the baby to change his eye color or his or her eye color and hair color. This was 2 or 3 years ago.
No way.
Yeah, it was a CRISPR baby.
I don't know if that's true.
I swear to God.
People are full of shit.
No, you can do this though. If you have the money, this guy had the money, couple $1,000, tens of thousands. You can do it. You can literally choose how you want your baby to look.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yeah, I
know
definitely.
That, I know that it's supposed. I know the theory of it works. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's coming.
Oh, China's doing it as well, and that's where I was getting. Yeah, China.
I'm googling it right now.
Do it. Yeah. My thing with what's it called? For instance, the AI aspect of things, man. You know, China or Russia or Iran, one of these countries that are just notorious for plotting.
China is every single terrible experiment.
Oh yeah.
They're a totalitarian government, so everything you do, they can decide if you're a prisoner or not.
Yeah.
And then they do whatever they want to those prisoners.
Yes.
So it's so much slave labor, and they're definitely doing experiments on these people.
Forever.
Yeah. And it's not even, it's just crazy. 100% true that they are running terrible, very non-ethical experiments without any regulation.
Yes.
And likely human harm. And they're torturing people for fun.
Yeah.
That's also
the Uyghurs, yeah. No one bats an eye about that. All these social justice warriors on the internet,
that asks questions. Not even them.
Yeah.
They have no I was gonna say they have no idea what Tiananmen Square is. You ready for this? What's the quote or whatever? There's no need to burn the books because people will just stop reading them. Aldous Huxley or something.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's where we're at now because China burnt the books, and that's an idiom I guess I'll use for saying China burnt the books is that they got rid of their history and put down totalitarian government.
Yes.
In so much as the picture of the guy in Tiananmen Square when he
standing
stood
in front of the tank,
that picture doesn't exist in China, and they're not allowed to show it. It just doesn't exist. But you can say, oh, they don't know what that picture is. But if you show that same picture to a couple kids under 20 in the United States who have all the information in the world, they probably don't know
exactly.
what that picture
Yeah.
is. So you can shit on China for having a totalitarian government, but they're doing that on purpose. We're just idiots.
Yeah. We just let our businesses control what we see and think and shit.
Yeah.
Like we just have no regulation. They have no one oversighting them, but we have no one oversighting big tech and their agendas. I think that's our biggest problem for the future coming up. One of them.
Right. Communism conforms, then exploits. Capitalism exploits, then conforms. Because communism, everything's the same, and then they make them all do work the same.
Yeah.
Here, they got us hook, line, and sinker into whatever we want.
Yeah.
Like it's just exploiting. We're exploiting the environment. We're exploiting people. Everything we have comes at a terrible cost of just human loss, energy, or environmental destruction. Everything in this room, environmental destruction, pound for pound. But then by doing that exploitation, capitalism also just having us. We have 4,000 choices of donuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have 2 political parties. Tell me that's fucking right.
Yeah.
Then we have what's called the illusion of choice. So that's complete horseshit that capitalism gives free societies. Capitalism, this is a guy by the name of Sheldon Wallen, or I think that would be his name. He wrote a book of what's known as fugitive democracy.
Okay.
And his point is a fugitive, fugare, it means to run. That's Latin.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. Spice it up.
A runaway. So it's a runaway democracy. And it's not runaway as in it's running away out of our hands. It's running away from its corporate owners. So throughout history, since the beginning of time, we've had the balance of power over the people versus power of authority. And those who have authority are the financial owners of whatever society they have. You know what I mean? Back in olden times, if you had the iron, like if you had access to get the iron out of the mountain back in medieval times,
You were the man.
You controlled the rules. Like you're the guy who controls the resources and controls everything.
Yeah.
So you made the rules. So whatever society is owned by those who control the resources, the logistic systems of energy. Currently, that's our big tech and all that. And before that, it was shipping and slavery and whatever. But democracy, every time the people try to go up in power and get voices to speak against their exploitation, the powers who are doing the exploitation always try to quell it down. So what Sheldon Wallen said was, democracy is always on the run. So it's always, we can't stay still. Like we're standing still right now. Our government is standing still. And that's why it's been captured by all the agencies. It's been captured by the federal interest or the industrial interest that they're supposed to regulate. Whether it's the environment, pharmaceuticals, anything you name, insider trading for stock, finance institutions. All the regulatory agencies have been captured, but the democracy still has to keep running. So we know that our systems are getting captured. This has been the history of time, that every time there's populist movements to gain more rights, like what our founding fathers did for creating the Constitution that was copied by hundreds of countries afterwards, because it had a value, Enlightenment value, which was true. They got away from their corporate captors. Even you can say, oh, there was slavery and all that, but in the scope of having semi-regular people, merchants and all that, rich people, but that was a step towards populism away from a sovereign. So it was fugitive democracy running away from the captor of an oligarch, as in the king. Right now, our oligarchs are trying to capture, and they're succeeding, of taking over our government. So our government, our democracy, has to keep fucking running. And we're not running. Like I said, we have 2 parties and no critical thinking. But this is all just, it's the patterns of history. Like this is, the guy wrote the book in frickin' 1850 maybe, you know what I mean? So he knew the same thing that they're having back then before the Gilded Age of the industrialists, you know what I mean? Of Westinghouse, Edison, Rockefeller, Carnegie, before those corporate interests took over the government, before the progressive era. You know what I mean? Then we had to have the progressive movement of 1901 and all that to break up the monopolies, get our government back. And so we're just...
Then you got the Federal Reserve Act of 1913,
exactly.
which...
So now we're getting back to our government, our democracy has been captured by the corporate interests. That's why we have the Democratic Party that serves corporate interests, and we have the Republican Party that serves corporate interests. Hopefully and luckily that they have competing interests. The people who select our politicians on a federal level. But what's actually happening is they're kind of on the same side now. Not to sound conspiratorial, but...
Please do.
The financial institutions leverage their bets So they have stock in AT&T, and then they also have stock in Verizon.
Mm-hmm.
So if one does well, they make money. If the other one does well, they make money. And they just do that for everything. And those financial institutions that own those corporate interests, what they make lots of money off the selling of stocks, they end up owning the media companies. For example, I forget if it's one of the major ones. They're owned by what's known as the Vanguard Group. The Vanguard Group owns the media outlet. It was a major one like CNN or Fox or something. They own stock. They're one of the largest shareholders in one of the media companies. I want to say it's Fox, but it could be CNN. I'm not sure. Because I know Fox would be Rupert Murdoch, but I don't know who their parent company is.
Yeah, that's what you got to look at. The parent companies that all seem to own each other.
Exactly.
ABC,
Exactly. So then all the companies own each other, and then their boards of directors are full of people who have financial interest. For example, Comcast on their board of directors, it's DuPont Chemicals, Pepsi-Cola, Yum, Food Industries, which is Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and there's the third one, KFC.
Okay.
So that's the board of directors of Comcast. Comcast owns NBC. So that's why on NBC you get your Pepsi commercials, your KFC commercials, your this. Then the other financial institutions that the finance companies own are like Johnson and Johnson and these other ones where, yes, they have the big pharmaceutical endeavors, but then they also have patents on the heartburn medicine that we use every day. So that's why all of our commercials are just corporate shit that just keep the wheel going, no questions. Pepsi, KFC, now you have heartburn and you're sick. Well, we got diabetes medicine and heartburn.
Damn.
And that's why we keep getting that narrative of what the hell are we doing? And then they own the news, their product is entertainment, not information, because they're trying to sell commercials. So they make it entertaining to get eyes on it, and then they get commercial money from Pepsi, Yum, all this. And then their brand money goes up. The financiers of like Vanguard, JP Morgan or whatever, all of those institutions, they control the narrative. They're not going to put any news that's going to be controversial that would take their money away. Because if they said all of this sugary shit is going to lead to you dying earlier than cigarette, you know what I mean, and make your life miserable, and you're going to have bad joints, and it's going to come out of your money because we're gonna take all the money, and then by selling you cheap shit, and then you guys pay me, you know what I mean? You have a patents, fuck off. And that's where we're at. So the news it's owned by financial companies who have interest in interest in the narratives that get put off because they own stock in who's ever buying commercials and all that stuff. So it's just a big cycle of making money. It's not even a conspiracy. It's just rational corporations working in the interest of making money.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't Pepsi put commercials? We're the fucking idiots drinking it,
consuming it all the time.
Like, we don't have the borders up. We're falling for it. So so instead of telling people not to drink, like ban the commercials, it's just like just know
consume
that
the product.
It's shit. But that's where we're at. Of just we think we have options, but we're owned by corporate oligarchs and all that. But that was the difference between capitalism and communism. So that they own the narrative, they give us two parties and tell us that makes sense. They give us Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's like, oh, so you put a nitwit in charge so that you guys can do whatever you want. And that's just make sure that we don't mess with your money. Yeah. And you take from us, but we can never take from you. Ever. Okay, that's a great fucking business plan. And that's where we're in a shit deficit of printing up so much money just to give to already rich people. So inflation's going up. They get all their money and investments and all that. And then the working people in 10 years, it's going to be devastating on how destroyed we are. Yeah. So that's why we need to get into, build our industry so that we have stable food, water, energy, and information in Massachusetts. That's what we need to do on the state level.
To kind of derail here, everything you just said, man, that should be taken out, a separate clip, You should put that
Clip it.
every single place you could fucking possibly do it because you just went ridiculous right there.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. That was, I mean, listen, again, I've thought about this for a very long time, personally, just how, like, you know, we're controlled and we're biased and we're brainwashed and we're poisoned. And you know, everything we think that's really going on is it seems to be a plan behind it, whether it's financially or health-wise. It's, you know, it's all kind of orchestrated.
Yeah.
You laid that out very perfectly, man. But
it's not a conspiracy. It's not a plan. It's just people in businesses acting rationally in self-interest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I do think there's a plan too, though, as well. And not to like say you're wrong, because I agree with what you're saying. I don't think everyone has involved with a plan that might be unfolding, but I do think there's a plan to make people unhealthy and to make people depressed and put them on antidepressants and SSRIs. I think there's a plan to make people poor so they're relying on government assistance. I think there's a reason and incentive to keep people at a low place in their life. So not everyone can do what their dream is, to revolt against the system if you want, to stop consuming because here's the thing. You don't want to eat KFC. You don't want to eat Wendy's. Okay, go buy salads. Here's the problem. Some people, and I'm not, this isn't saying you should, like, this isn't like, okay, this justifies anything. Some people financially can't afford to do that. So their question is, okay, what do? I don't have that answer. But I'm just saying, when that's a cheaper option than salad and apple and like, it's like, why are you doing that to people, you know?
Well, that's it. The corporate interest, but they set it up that that corn and soybean are the cheapest things to grow. And it's not, here's the thing, it's not conspiracy that we use corn and soy. It's just that they're the easiest to grow in the U.S., which means that it's more money, because growing tomatoes or whatever is water intensive. Corn, less water intensive. So, and you get more calories per corn than any other grain. The problem is that we took that and we refined it into corn fructose syrup, high fructose corn syrup. But so everything we eat in our modern diet is pretty much corn syrup, high fructose, high glucose corn syrup, soybean, and soybean oil. But those are some of our biggest crops. One, because they're easy to grow, but their nutritional value is very valuable, but it's been so ultra processed that that's where the problem is. So we have the legume of soybeans and we have the grain of crops, but we also do monocrop agriculture, which means that all the soil is getting depleted on both of them because we're just greedy and just all
over and over.
And over.
You mentioned that last time.
Yeah, we only have like 60 years left in crops, which is nothing. So that's a big serious issue. But they're the easiest ones to make, and the reason we put all the preservatives and make it all so we process them so much because they're easiest to grow, corn and soybean, and then we use that corn is used to fatten cows, and then the soybean gives them protein.
Okay.
So most of our crops we send like a third to China. We eat a third of them, and then we turn the other third of corn and soybean into animal feed. So that's where it goes. So then our diets, when we get those grains, no one's eating corn, no one's eating soybean. So we take it and then we process it so it's easier to stay on shelves because it's easier to make a higher profit. So it's a cheap grain and all that. So it's cheaper to produce, cheaper to sell, and then you can process it so it has a longer shelf life. And that's why everything in our store is corn syrup and soybean oil and all that stuff, because we found ways to process. The easiest thing to produce, we found the easiest way to sell it, which is the
maximize the profits.
Maximize the profit. And the back end of all that easiness, then because it's easy to consume because there's less loss because it's better preserved and better packaged. But the problem is we end up eating it, and by the time it gets to us, it's so shitty for us, but it tastes good because it's just sugar. And
that's it's addicting. It's the dopamine releases and all that.
And it's so cheap that it makes people who don't make that much money go for the cheaper option. Just the cheapness, easiness, the convenience of it makes it lucrative and lucrative and desirable. But it's also just habit. because then we see that all of those corporations make a whole bunch of money, and then because they make cornfields, they make money off of Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? So of course they want Coca-Cola commercials. And they want Pepsi commercials and all this stuff. So it's like, let it run. If we're making money, it's not conspiracy. It's just people working in the common interest to make as much money. But then they start owning each other, and then they're like, well, we're gonna make sure that, what is it? Comedy Central and what's the other? Comedy Central and CBS have Trevor Noah and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah.
They're owned. Someone on their board of directors got $2 billion from the Koch brothers, of the parent company of Paramount. The parent company of CBS Viacom, I think.
Yeah.
That's the big.
Viacom owns a shit ton of news outlets as well.
Exactly. So then you look, you're like, so who's on the board of directors? And one of them is the lady. She was a lawyer a couple of years ago, and she does pharmaceutical acquisitions. So if she works for pharmaceutical companies to help them buy other pharmaceutical companies. Do you think she's going to say anything about it?
Oh, yeah, of course not.
What she also did was Oliver North, I think it is, the shady general during the Iran-Contra.
Not familiar with him.
The United States was...
I know about the Iran-Contra. I'm not familiar with him,
they were using money in certain... You weren't allowed to sell guns to Iran, so then federal agents started doing all sorts of weird, shady shit to work around the law, and so the guy got in trouble because it was shady as fuck. Her lawyer, that guy's lawyer is the lady who does the pharmaceuticals. So she was helping she was defending a general, doing shady shit, and then she started working for pharmaceutical companies, and now she's on the board of entertainment. A news industry, and then another guy is like I said, he's a pharmaceutical guy, and he just got, or not pharmaceutical, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember his name, but then he got $2 billion. His business is from the Koch brothers. So you think they're gonna push an anti-oil narrative? You know what? So then they get to hire who they want, and it goes all the way. That's the top. Goes all the way down to the voices, and it's Trevor Noah and Colbert, the two left people. And you're like, oh, you guys are getting played. Then they're like, but we get to say what we want. We're being witty and
like, we make snappy jokes.
But you guys are saying nonsense that you're not speaking truth.
Yeah.
Because if you started speaking truth, they would start saying no to you.
Yeah.
And that's it. So they say everything where they don't get no's.
Well, Trevor Noah might be saying his actual opinion. That guy seems like a tool person. I don't know about Stephen Colbert, but I know what you're saying though. They're they don't have full freedom. They probably only have 5% freedom.
No, Trevor Noah,
none of those guys do.
He's wicked funny. I've watched his stand up, but when I watched his stand up, I found out that he's a handsome, tall dude, and all that. And his way of humor, it was one of the first memories he mentioned he had, or something very important, was during the riots in South Africa.
Okay.
Is that there was a cop on a horse, a white cop, and they were beating up black people in the streets. He was with his grandfather, who was a black South African, protesting, and he went and walked by, but he saw how his grandfather diffuse the situation by making a joke. Like the cop was like, "Get the fuck home" or something, and he saw his horse. And he was like, "Oh, it looks like my wife," or something like that. So in his mind, Trevor Noah is a good comedian in so much that he uses comedy to diffuse situations, and that's what he did. He's much more docile.
Gotcha.
It's a diffusing type of humor, which is good if you're pushing a narrative. Whereas Jon Stewart, he's a short, little, ugly Jew from New York who talk fast, think fast, and if there's someone, his comedy was a sense of strength, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the little guy in the room, so I have to be fucking on it. You know what I mean? And
the
like,
Ben Shapiro effect.
And like, I'm not a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot because blah blah blah. And it's much more of a direct, a critical perspective. Because if you're fast, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why his critical analysis of the wars in Iraq, it kind of converged because all that bullshit happened. But then he was a good guy to analyze it, who spoke truth and all that. And then Colbert was funny after that because he just exaggerated the Republican talking points just to show how ridiculous they were sometimes. But then Colbert went soft, and then Trevor Noah just became a docile, and that's exactly it. Like NBC, it's owned by Viacom. Saturday Night Live, they're not liberal or they're not woke. They're corporate entities that can't push the mechanisms of truth. Because if you start putting truth, you start disrupting the system of the corporate entities are feeding us shit, destroying our environment, and taking us for granted, taking our bailouts. You know what I mean? Like they get all the money and we get jack shit. So the news is horseshit. So read some books. Read it all. Just know that it's horseshit. You know what I mean? And just
think for yourself. You know, come to your conclusions.
And here's the thing: it's people deal with pharmaceutical companies and all that, and I want to be critical of them because they do shady shit. But like I said, it's not. It's in the common interest of making money. You know what I mean? And when they do it, it's when you're a corporation. You have a limited liability, so you can get away with it. You start dealing with big numbers. You can start dehumanizing people. I understand that it's wrong. It's not good. But it happens. But that's why pharmaceutical companies aren't good and they aren't bad. They're companies that sell things that have purpose.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So they're just doing their thing. The way I wish I could explain it is that they're fucking drug dealers. Yes, they're going to them because I'm not saying that they're drug pushers, which they certainly are. Marketing is one of the largest things in the budget, which is
we're one of the only two countries in the world that allows pharmaceutical companies to advertise on TV and radio,
and
which is just crazy.
They buy the most TV commercials for CNN. Fox.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
So then, exactly. And Fox does it too.
It's
everyone. But they're your drug dealers, so you have to be able to trust them. And that's the problem I have, is that we're not able to trust the pharmaceutical industry because they have such a bad record of doing shady shit.
Yeah.
And that shady shit was only highlighted by the opiate epidemic because the side effect was addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the other drugs that they push, people don't question it because there is no side effect for, do I actually need this cholesterol medicine?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, well, I do it, I take it, like, but what if you cut it out? You know what I mean? And we're just like, we're a pill for every ill culture, so there's more of an inclination instead of addressing diet and lifestyle, you get drugs.
Yep.
And no one's there to stop it. And that's the pharmaceutical industry have completely controlled the medical industry. Like, we don't talk about health and doctors and all that stuff. I see them dealing with my father who has dementia. And they're like, well, make sure he gets his insulin shot. Make sure, like, you need to give him this medication so that his sugar gets regular and all that. So be like, no, you don't eat the sugar to make your fucking body explode. Like, that's the conversation. He's old now, so I give him chocolate bars because it's he already has full dementia.
Yeah.
So that 10 minutes of chocolate fill, it's like, yeah, dude, fucking get it. But the conversation should have been when he was 40 of, dude, you're going to lose it all. You know, like physically and mentally.
Yeah.
We don't have that conversation because it's easier to. He's on all sorts of medications for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a shitty thing.
Well, from my personal experience with pharmaceuticals, I've been on being conservative here. I mean, being liberal here. It's probably been over 24 medications.
No shit.
Yeah, man. Mainly like SSRIs and like anti-anxiety, things along those lines. But I've had migraine medications that have had very adverse side effects. I mean, I've been very medicated. And I don't take anything right now. I take vitamins. I exercise. You know, I shit like that. I do actual things that like I believe that are gonna make me a healthier person physically and mentally. But man, when I tell you, for instance, I took this medication called cyproheptadine, and it was a migraine medication. Man, when I tell you, Alex, this thing, it made me such a miserable cunt. Yeah. I mean, like, to the point where, like, I love the word cunt. I love it. We'll normalize the word. But, man, my family would be like...
You spelt it. So
My family would be like, dude, like, we can't do this anymore. Like, you got to stop. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I'd just be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I wouldn't care. Yeah. And then... one day, randomly, my mom was talking to another mom, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my daughter took that and she was a bitch too." And I was like, "Holy shit!" I stopped taking it. I was like, "Dude, I was a different person."
Yeah.
I've taken Xanax. I've taken Adderall. They gave me Adderall for anxiety one time.
That's the exact opposite.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what happened? I fucking loved it because it's Adderall.
It's meth. And
It's
fantastic.
yes, it's the best. It's yeah, and I was.
But it's also shit because it's fake. It's
Yeah.
fake enthusiasm.
You get hit down hard.
Yeah.
Like I told my doctor at the age of like 16, 17, I was like, dude, like you need to take me off of this. She's like, it's not working. I was like, no, it's working very well.
Yeah.
Please take me off of it. She's like, okay. I'm like, I'm getting addicted to it. I can physically feel myself being dependent upon this. It's only been like 2 months.
Yeah.
But I'm taking them every day and I'm loving it. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's crazy.
We have
man.
a legal drug problem in this country.
Yeah.
I'm open. What is it? Pot helps with everything, you know.
Love some good weed, yeah.
But then I'm open about that. But people, they won't admit that daily pharmaceutical anxiety drugs and all that stuff, they're on drugs.
Yeah.
You're on those are drugs. I do drugs. I've done drugs. I've done all sorts of drugs.
Yeah.
I can see you're doing drugs. The only thing is a mental rationalization saying that this doctor said it's okay. When he said it was okay, because it's easier to give someone drugs than actually fucking deal with the issues.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to deal with the issues than to take drugs. In our system makes it easy to get issues by keeping you fucking stressed out with work in real life, and then the fake TV shit and social media. That's all real shit and fake stress. Real shit and fake shit still creates real stress. So even if it's illusionary, it still affects your brain and body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are people who think that fucking, you know what I mean? Like whatever crazy conspiracy, it's real physical stress. But then, world is easy to get stressed. But then instead of dealing with that, we make the easy out of drugs. Like if you have diabetes and all this stuff, instead of making the right decision and having self-control of like, I'm not going to eat candy every day.
Yeah.
They say, well, we'll give drugs to mask the symptoms. If you say, I'm fucking stressed out and anxious, and you're like,
here's an Ativan, here's a Xanax. Yeah.
And they just give it drugs, and it's a pill for every ill culture instead of addressing the root problems of just getting healthy. And that's easy to say because you work out. It's difficult.
Yeah. Not every day is going to be the best. You know, you're not going to be motivated every fucking hour to go work out. Today, I don't want to work out, but, you know, you got to do it to get that endorphins going.
And you just have to, people culturally don't know how to work out on their own. Like there is a big cohort of people that were working out is a part of their life, but then there's a whole giant majority where it's not regular, whereas their parents didn't work out, their parents didn't work out, and what their parents did do was drink soda and eat cookies in front of a TV. So it's drink soda and eat cookies in front of a TV and put junk food into your body, put junk food into your mind, and then the corporations all make money off of it. What they don't make money off of is if you start thinking critically, they can actually make money off good entertainment because if you started eating healthy and just working out, you can work out in front of a TV. Yeah. Right? Like,
well, yeah.
And then it's like your kids are going to watch you pick a lifestyle and they're going to mimic your lifestyle. So if we want the next generation to go better, parents have to be the ones to break the cycle. And that just means everything between our friends. You know what I mean? Just like everyone has to... we have to make it more cultural. It's more natural and better to eat real food that isn't covered in chemicals and preservatives and ultra processed and laced with sugar. That's unnatural. Taking pills every day. If you take 2, 3, 4 pills a day and you were just a normal person, the only thing that's killing you is your diet, that's unnormal. That's unnatural. So that's unnatural. Eating real food and exercising and moving your body like an
sunlight,
animal, that's natural. So what irritates me is when I'm not living healthy. I'm living naturally. you're living, not you, but
Yeah,
the
no, I know
other
what you
people
mean, yeah.
are living unnaturally unhealthy. Like, it's not a diet. I'm eating regular food. That's weird. What, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not the weird one. It's weird to drink soda and eat cookies all day. Like, it's in chocolate bars and all that.
Yeah, it's...
But if we're going to mandate shit, that's why we need to have, what the hell is it? We need to mandate that we get rid of high fructose, shut down the drug pushers if you care about health.
Seriously.
Right? Because obesity increases your chances of getting sick with COVID. Yeah.
It's,
there you go. We're not talking about, and that's exactly the similar pattern of they're not going to stop a narrative if it makes them money.
Yeah.
And they're going to push a narrative that will make them money because if they want to get rid of all their big money makers of heart disease medicine, cholesterol medicine, shit that people have to start in their 20s and 30s and keep going until the 70. That's 40 years of profit every day, right? They're not going to stop that by saying you can reverse diabetes by eating healthy and not eating like
intermediate fasting, they're doing things that actually will physically correct that.
Because that's costless.
Yeah.
Which means that there's no profit. So
you'll actually lose money if you recommend intermediate fasting, for instance, because less people will be eating less. Right. You know what I mean? So that's No,
but that's where it is. In that, but then we paralleled that pill for every ill culture of instead of acknowledging things for what they are, we're looking for quick, easy, gold. What's it called? Silver bullet answers. Okay. So instead of looking at COVID holistically, it's just get the vaccine and that's it. You're like, okay, sure, I'll imagine that. But can we agree that obese people are at a higher risk? So why aren't we pushing the idea of getting healthy? Yeah. Because if we push the idea of getting healthy, know what's going to happen? People will get healthy. Yeah, that's... And then who starts losing money? The Vanguard group of financial institutions who owns money in Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merck. Yeah. They start losing money because there are less diabetics. Imagine the world if we had 30 million less diabetics. Yeah. That's billions of dollars a year off the table for them in profits, but it's almost costless for us. Yeah, and the people who actually do have the diabetes, type 1s or something like that, their insulin costs would be cheaper because there's not a higher demand. They'd have to lower prices. Healthcare would go down, and everything would reflect actual needs. And our government has to stop playing ball. So the people have to. Our balls are in the hands of pharmaceutical companies. They're in the hands of pharmaceutical companies because we put them in their hands. Purposely, yeah. Just take our balls. Yeah, grab take them out of pharmaceutical companies. These are my balls. I'm taking them back. We're going to eat healthy, and we're going to have 30 million less diabetics. Because I think that there are 100,000 people, 100 million people with diabetes and prediabetes. Seriously? And prediabetes is one. Holy shit. Prediabetes is just a way of saying you're being a fat shit. Yeah. You need to get the medical term out of that. You're being a fat shit. If someone walks in and they're like, well, you're being a fat shit, because it's not a mystery. Do you know how you become a fat shit? Eating in front of the TV and not moving. It's not. Okay, there are some people who have medical conditions of, you know what I mean? That's the margin. That's we're talking preventable ones though. 100%. Which is the majority of instances. Yep. And you get played into thinking that it's normal because you're like, I'm just drinking Pepsi. Fucking Pepsi's on Skittles. I'm just eating Pepsi and Skittles. Yeah. You're like, no, that's sugar. All sugar, and it's having a deleterious. Like that word? That's never heard that one. Deleterious. Deleterious. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna steal that one. It means destructive. Yeah, man. It's insane, and I think one of the most important things you said was starting to teach the younger generation like the importance of these types of things. You know, I mean, that's the biggest thing right there. It's crucial. Yeah. Well, it's up for our generation to not this fake woke shit of being a fucking totalitarian left asshole. Yeah. That's a weird woke. I'm not a fan of that woke. But a real woke would be realizing that health is wealth. Yeah. And once you get that, you start dissecting all of the power of corporate needs. And then you're just like, okay, materialism, not there. Health is important. Then you start paying attention to health. Am I going to eat all the high fructose close corn syrup and let people leverage financial futures on soybean oils and gamble on that, because that's all the stock market shit of the, you know what I mean, that finance industry. It's all just placing bets on agricultural products. That's what a future is.
And as you say, the next 6 decades, that's going to be wiped off the table, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So we're playing games with our money and causing crazy inflation with our financial industries, our tech industries, creating all sorts of debt, leveraging valuations for debt. And that's all fickle. But at the same time, the real resource of food is fucked.
Yeah.
Our climate is fucked. Like, this is real. Like, there's plastic in human bodies. All of our human bodies have microplastics in them. Like,
every newborn baby,
exactly.
everyone, yeah.
And like, this is the shit that's important that I want to talk about. The list that was off earlier was, remember, it was the ammonia, the concrete, the plastic, and iron and steel. The plastic is a most important thing, like issue, and it's in our bodies. And we're not talking about any of the real material world. We're talking about fake, stupid, what the hell is it? Fake, stupid reality TV. Like, we're just completely in it. And when I start talking about materials and science and stuff, I'm not talking abstract. I'm talking about everything we touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's fun sounding crazy for at least now. Because I think that there's a good enough portion of the population, I hope, that 30% of people are going to pick Team Blue, 30% are going to pick Team Red, and then hopefully 30% of people fucking wake up and know what's happening.
Yeah.
That all the parties are bullshit. All the politicians in those parties are bullshit. Anything else?
Fuck, man. I mean, listen, we're talking about, I don't want to touch on I don't want to dissect just one minor aspect of everything you've said, because, I tend to do that just because.
No, dissect.
But yeah.
I like dissection. It's fine.
You mentioned the reality TV and the reality and all that. That's a distraction from what's actually happening.
Big time.
What do you think about the whole the VR, AR, metaverse area that's unfolding in front of us? Augmented reality, virtual reality, the virtual realities,
that's
and
a
the
natural
worlds.
thing. It's pretty much taking a step into a video game and social media at the same time. So, I mean, pretty much everyone's already immersed in their digital worlds between Minecraft and even Call of Duty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're pretty much there, just add in a couple other elements. Like even GTA, and I think it'll be an advanced video game crossed with social media, which could get kind of weird.
See, I'm all for the video game aspect. I don't like the social media part. I'm distancing myself from that.
Because that's weird, because social media is fucking weird.
It's the worst thing we've ever made.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, so mix that with the video games. But it's going to be interesting insofar as that it's just a next logical step. And then you'll just be able to, I mean, fuck it. Some people don't even talk to their neighbors here. And they're lonely. You know what I mean? Like, if everyone's living in apartments and everything in big cities, there's a disconnect. So if you can start making friends that give you at least the a mental realness, like if you, right, we'd have to say, like, would it be better for someone to have a real emotional connection, psychological connection through a video game who's really far away, and like maybe they'll hope to get together someday, but it's keeping them alive, giving them hope, and like a real relationship would, whether it's friendship or romantic or family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that more valuable, having a real electronic, a real relationship through an electric world with another human being, instead of being in the real world with people that you don't give a fuck about? You know what I mean? Of feeling empty in a crowded room. So like, if
kind of finding your own niche, your niche,
so
doing
like,
your own.
If you're just gonna be, if you're into whatever it is and you can't find people in your world, like if you're out in the middle of, I'm gonna shit on Wyoming again. You know what I mean? Like, you like your life and you like your family there, but you're just missing something, and you're like, okay, in 10 years, I want to move to a city, but here I just have to help my family. And then you get immersed into a digital world, and you're talking to some kid from Japan who's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yo, that's a real human connection. So there's value there instead of just being like, you know, instead of that Office Space, you know how he just hates his job, his life, everything. Like, instead of living in a world, because I guess it's going to be a mix of both.
Yeah. Oh, you can definitely work inside of it, and there's a game called Decentraland, which is it's a decentralized game, and it's pretty cool. I've explored it. And I own some of the cryptocurrency of it just in my crypto wallet, just because I bought like $50 worth of it or something.
Sure.
But it's called Mana. But there's virtual casinos, and you can get hired in there. I don't know if I might mix up two metaverses. There's a metaverse where there's casinos. There's casinos in Decentraland too, but they'll pay you to learn how to be a dealer and like a broker.
Okay,
and like you can actually get jobs inside of the metaverse, which is for some people living in other countries. That might in the U.S. is cool, but say you're living in the Philippines or something, and you're not making any money,
right,
bro. You just found a job that you don't have to go any. Yeah, you know, like
it's gonna be weird.
It's nuts.
It's gonna be a weird world. That and with robots acting like humans and humans acting like robots, all in a digital world. That's our very reality.
Cars driving themselves.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Yep.
Man, you ever think you'd see stuff like this?
I don't think anyone's thought of any of this, but I imagine it's right. I mean, look at the benefit here. I'm running for office, and all we need is a fucking camera, a couple microphones.
Damn right.
Between that laptop right there, it was impressive when Gutenberg made the press to print Bibles. That was fucking revolutionary. Yeah. We're blowing that out of the water, and I'm just some chump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of global communications, that was only 400 years ago. So if you think of when we printed the first book, to anyone in America can do exactly what we're doing right now on some level or another, even if it's just talking in your phone to talk.
I was gonna say you don't even need a studio or lights or anything.
Yeah. If you have something to say and you have a talent, or if you want to learn a talent, or hone your talent, right now is a fantastic, awesome time. Which bums me out that no one's running for fucking office. Right?
Yeah.
Think about that. I'm the only independent in Massachusetts out of 7 million people. Maybe there was one other, like one of the times I ran. But then out of 40 state senators, 36 positions did not have a general election.
It was just unanimous.
They were just unopposed.
Yeah.
Think about that. That means no one ran. That means 4 people ran for state senate out of 7 million. 7 million. 4 out of 7 million. Think about that. We have all the technology and all the people there. They usually don't have much to say because I always look at their social media or whatever. There are no videos of them. They always have like 23 views on YouTube or something. Like a comical amount. Like I'd shoot myself. Well, I don't shoot myself because some of my numbers aren't great all the time.
It happens, bro. Yeah.
What is it? But I at least got like 300 views on a video, like a couple hundred on Instagram.
Yeah,
you know
what
I mean?
Yeah.
But they're not making an effort to say anything. Like if you go on my Instagram, it's all talking and ideas, even abstract ideas. But I mean, we have to realize we're in an abstract world of big universe and chemistry and biology and humans or animals. Like this is all science. It's all relevant. But every other politician, they don't have anything even as simple as dumb as this. Like they're making no effort to communicate ideas. One, because they don't care about communicating, and second, they don't have any ideas. Because if you cared about communicating, all you have to do is communicate. And if you had ideas, you'd say them. Like we need a fucking free state college system, nuclear energy, high-speed rails, renewable energy, free vocational training for our state. It's not that hard. You just say it. Like I said, to bring us back full loop, those are big abstract ideas because I'm a piece of shit guy who's full of shit. So I get to say the big abstract ideas, but I know the tech, the limitations, the arguments, pros, cons, costs, all that general stuff, and just push that shit forward because it's not that hard. And I wish that there were more people running for office at every level, like just every single person in the state. How cool would it be if we heard that there were 300 people running this year? You know, like that would be fantastic. Every state position is challenged. 4 competitors, like 17 independent people running for state office. That's what we need instead of out of 40 state Senate seats, only 4 of them had competitors. Like, you know what I mean? That's shameful. That's not a democracy. That's a joke. The Massachusetts, they call ourselves a democratic state. Only 30% of registered voters are Democrats. We're an independent state.
I think isn't the majority of the country independent?
Primarily.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that's still adhering to a party at this point doesn't have a very, they're not thinking critically and observing that the parties are the problem.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the parties, it's our lack of parties. If we had more parties, then they would be able to form coalition governments. That's what you know what I mean? Like, the anti-abortion group is working with the pro-labor group. You know what like, that's different cohorts of parties and all that. So that would be better. It would increase competition, increase ideas, increase dialogue. But instead, everyone in Massachusetts just runs as a Democrat. There's no competition, and then we get what we paid for.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just a state that's falling behind.
Yeah, on a state level, it makes less sense than on a national one. Because on a national one, it's harder to gain traction as a third party, which is unfortunate. But at the state level or the city level or whatever, like local level, like you shouldn't have that much of an issue running as a third party.
No.
I wouldn't think.
No, I mean, I just like calling myself an independent. I mean, just because it's what I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just like to take a step back and just be like, fucking, you know when it's a bar fight or something and you see 2 idiots acting like idiots?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm going to fucking take a step back away from you idiots. That's why I'm an independent. I'm just like, neither one of you drunk assholes is making sense. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Gotcha,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
This isn't a rational thing, and that's politics summed up in a bar fight.
Yeah, I always found it crazy that I'll be talking to someone and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Democrat," but then they'll be like, "Oh, I'm pro-gun." Okay, you know, or like, "Oh, I'm pro-life." I'm like, "Wait a minute, how?" Or like just something like that. I'll be like, "How can you say you're a party, like a part of a party system, if you don't 100% agree with that system?" Like that's like I just
that's it. Just take a step out and be rational. You don't need a party, and why would you want to be a part of those 2 parties?
Yeah. Why limit yourself?
Yeah. And in Massachusetts, they just play it along because it's center-right Republicans. I mean, it's center-right. All of Massachusetts is just center-right Democrats, which means you're a Republican. You know what I mean? You just call yourself a Democrat, but you're all old school like Republican shit. It's nothing progressive. And then on the progressive end, it's just weird nonsense that has no traction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of getting the identity politics, it doesn't highlight competence. It only highlights genitals, sexuality, and skin color. And those are terrible metrics to determine the aptitude of an individual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not good. And that's what sucks is the most of the time when I see people win positions, they highlight first blah blah blah, female of blah blah blah. And what's always missing from those articles? Actionable ideas.
Kamala Harris, for instance, first woman.
Meaningful ideas instead of just, we need to help community. You're like, fucking, yeah, everyone says that. We need to improve. Yeah, everyone says that. Like, it's very shallow. And that's why we need more competition. That's it.
Damn right, man. Damn right.
You ready to wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, thank you as always for doing this. But man, thank you for allowing me. All my watchers watching, like obviously this isn't my area. The beautiful painting, the great lights, the great mics. Shout out to Alex for having me over. I genuinely appreciate it, man.
That's it. No doubt.
Had a blast.
All right, we're going to chop this up, put it on YouTube, and we'll get it on, what's the name of your podcast?
Unfiltered Information Podcast.
Unfiltered Information Podcast. There you go.
One love, everyone. Thank you.
Peace.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Bye.